optimal TSH number. While, like I said, it's different for everybody. It might be something around like 0.8 to like 1.3 or something.
Do you want to do just a quick minute history of your thyroid health, and where it's been in the past?
Yeah, sure. So I actually do have a partial family history of hypothyroidism. So hypothyroidism is basically the thyroid is struggling to make enough thyroid hormones. So it actually the pituitary, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the pituitary is as a result of pituitary is putting out an increased amount of what's called thyroid stimulating hormones. So it's basically detecting like via negative feedback, like, okay, I'm not seeing enough thyroid hormone in the bloodstream. So we're going to respond by increasing that TSH or thyroid stimulating hormone to try and push the thyroid to, create more of that thyroid hormone. And that would be T4 and T3 specifically. So when someone's hypothyroid, they have something called like Hashimoto's disease. Basically, they don't have enough thyroid hormones, so that TSH number tends to go up and like skyrocket. So if somebody has clinical hypothyroidism, the TSH might be like 40, 50, 100, some huge number. So in my case, like I said, like hypothyroidism does kind of run in the family to a degree. I don't tend to have super, like my T3 and T4 numbers tend to be okay. But I do have like sort of a subclinical hypothyroidism. So that number tends to have been between, so just for context, the reference range that you see on the right for that TSH line, it says 0.4 to 4.5. So that's on the, like 0.4 is on the very low end. And these reference ranges, account for the entire population. So what's normal for one person and what's healthy for one person might not be exactly
two different things.
Yeah, right. Could be two different things, but that's sort of like a general population between ages like 18 to 80. So, what's healthy for one person, like might be like a 1. For another person, it might be like a 1.5. Anyway, not to go off on a tangent, but so.
But he covered a good point.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that's that's a good point, because what he's saying is, 3.45, someone might look at that and compare that to someone like him who's 30, 31, and use the same parameter to compare that for someone who's 80.
Right.
How does that make any sense?
Right.
Right? And that's general what he means when they say like this is a general reference range that encompasses all ages, all races, people of all genetic, predecessors and all that. So in his particular case, his is at 3.45, which is particularly high for someone who's 31 years old. You know what I mean? Because, and he mentioned it before, he has a history of Hashimoto's disease in his family, and we'll cover that in a second because more of his blood work is down below. But he mentioned a good point. There are different types of hypothyroidism, guys. I actually used to have hypothyroidism as well, and mine was different because my body didn't produce enough TSH and therefore didn't produce enough free T4, free T3, right? In his case, his immune system is actually attacking his thyroid.
Right. And
that's what's causing the low amount of TSH into T3, T4 conversion. Okay? Right. So this is something very important to notice, because Josh is in pretty good metabolic health overall. Right, but he has separate factors being his
something to be aware of,
Exactly, it's something to be aware of, because if you are in bad metabolic health, there's actually a high likelihood that your TSH actually might be on the lower side. Like for me, mine's always been around a 1. When most doctors, when they test your thyroid, if you look at Josh's thyroid parameters, right, he got his reverse T3, and he got his
T4 is on the next page, I think.
Yeah. Yep. Oh no, T4. No, your T4 is actually way lower. It's way lower down the test. But he also got his total T4 and his free T4 done as well. Most doctors are only going to test your TSH.
Right.
And when they test your TSH, for me, mine was always around a 1. So the doctors would look at me and say, "Oh, well, you're in perfect, metabolic health. Yours is around a 1. It's on the lower end of the reference range. You're in your 20s. You're good."
Was that even when
Right?
you were 240?
Was that?
Was that even when you were 240? It was a 1.
Yep. No, when I was 250, 255, it was still at a 1.
So what were the other numbers?
Mine. So this was at like a 2.9, and my T4 was at like a 1. No, it was at a 0.07 or something like that. It was at the very, very end of the reference range. And guys, T4 goes from 0.5 up to like 3-ish or so. So the higher your T4 is, and just so you guys know, T4 also converts into T3. T3 is the active hormone that pretty much helps regulate your metabolism and the energy levels of your body. Just so a quick aside, so you know.
So I think, so Rob is saying he used to have a 1. I think, so I get this information from a website called Stop the Thyroid Madness, but, Rob's done a decent amount of research as well. But I think sort of an optimal TSH number, while like I said, it's different for everybody, it might be something around like 0.8 to like 1.3 or something.
No, that's right. That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And then for T3, like you want like a 3 to like a 3.3 or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's correct. So, and this is why I say this can be misleading at times and why you need to see more of the numbers that you have in your test, right? Because I was on like the lower end of like the T3 and the T4, and my reverse T3, guys, your reverse T3 is what binds to your free T3 cells and makes them a null. So pretty much they reverse T3 cells, free T3 cells. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Binds together and makes them, useless.
Right.
So when I got all those tested, I realized my free T3 was on the lower side. You ideally want this number to be a 3.5-ish. So his is on the lower side as well, obviously, because, as you said, he has an autoimmune disorder, right? Mine was also at like a 2.8, 2.9. And my reverse T3, you ideally want this to be as low as possible, anywhere between like a 10 to maybe at most like 15 at the highest. You ideally want this to be around like 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Mine was at a 27. It was above the reference range. So I had a shit ton of my T3 a bunch of my thyroid hormone converting over to reverse T3 and rendering my free T3 useless.
Yeah, there's kind of like competing signals going on. So like your pituitary's like, all right, we need to step on the gas. So it's raising the TSH, but the thyroid's, obviously in my case, it's being attacked by the immune system. So it's like, no, actually we need to slow things down. So you see as a result, right, I got like a slightly higher TSH, but also like an elevated T3 due to that autoimmunity that's going on. So you can kind of see what you need to address based on these more in detail numbers. So
exactly,
like a doctor would start with the TSH, and that's like a pretty good overall indicator of what's going on, but it doesn't tell you everything. So I think like baseline, you want to get TSH, free T3, free T4, and reverse T3. And
I would also argue you should get those T3 antibodies as well.
And the antibodies, but I think it's good, but you don't necessarily have to, unless you see, if you're trying to save money, that is, like, you can just start with those 3 or 4, and then if you're seeing like a TSH that's above like a 2, maybe you should look at the thyroid peroxidase antibodies and the thyroid globulin antibodies. Those are the 2 different places your immune system can go rogue and start attacking your thyroid. So
Exactly. And either way, what Josh is pretty much saying, guys, and I completely agree, is you need a full picture.
Yeah.
Right? Not just one slice of the pie. So overall here, he can see, if he was just going off TSH, his doctor would say, oh, that's a little high. Fuck it. Well, you come back next year, we'll see where it's at. Right?
Like most doctors looking at this would be like, oh, you're pretty much in perfect health here. They might want to keep an eye if they even ordered the antibodies test. You'd be like, well, it's not too bad. We'll keep an eye on it, etc. Right, and just see what happens. Presumably, eventually, my left alone, my autoimmunity would get worse, and then they'd put me on like thyroid hormones. So,
exactly,
I'm gonna do what I can to sort of. I'm gonna probably have to make some changes, or maybe run some experiments to see what I can do to reduce the low grade autoimmunity I've got going on. But again, getting the data early, getting out ahead of the problems that you have, is how you avoid ending up lost and missing, as we like to say. So
yeah, and for a lot of you, it's also how you fix them.
Yeah, right, exactly. If you don't know, you're not going to be able to take action about it. So
exactly.
So ignorance is definitely not bliss. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. You need to see what's going on under the hood, guys, because and this is where like a lot of health coaches, doctors, fail, because you have a lot of coaches who will just put you on a diet and say, eat 2,200 calories a day, you'll be fucking fine. You'll lose some weight. And it's a much bigger process than that, because you need to see what's going on under the hood to see where your metabolic parameters at, see where your blood work is at, so you know specifically what you need to address and how to address it. Right. Okay? Because if you don't have that stuff and know how to address it, you have no idea, how these methods are working, kind of shooting in the dark. You're kind of just looking at the scale, and you'll be like, oh, I'm not losing weight as quickly as I want to, or I'm losing weight fast. Great, fuck it.
If you follow general advice, you're going to get general results. If you get anything at all. Yeah.
Exactly. Like in Josh's case, he can see, okay, I'm in good metabolic health overall. Yep. I'm probably good to, I don't need to, severely cut any more carbs. I probably just need to cut some more of the fatty meats out of my diet and import them with the ones that are less fatty, right?
That could honestly be contributing partially to the autoimmunity, maybe,
Exactly.
So, yeah.